Bonjour from the very noisy north side of Notre Dame. I came down here, it's not even 7 a.m. yet, and I came down here because they've revealed something that we haven't seen in over 6 years. So I wanted to come down and see it early in the morning before anybody was here, and of course it's the day that they are cleaning the street here. And it's getting closer and closer to me, and I was wanted to do this in the morning when there was nobody here, but I didn't plan on the street cleaner. But I want to show you, it's very exciting. We have the north door of the transept, the cloister, available now so we can see it. And they've taken down the wall, but it's just such a beautiful morning here. You can see the roof. And it's getting closer and closer. And here's the door. And maybe I'll wait till it passes so I can tell you all about it so you can actually hear me in a little bit. So we'll give him some time to clean. But I'm also really excited because we can see another part of a door. This is the red door, known as the red door. And you can see there you have Christ with Mary. And on the left, you have Saint Louis. And then on the right, Marguerite de Provence, which Saint Louis the IX had paid to have this door created, so this was a gift to the church. And we're just at the very end of the north side. The north side is the darkest side because it never gets any direct light because the sun is always on the west to south and east side. So you don't really get a lot of direct light here. And so the doors here are a little bit heavier in the way that they look. But you can see down a little bit. But they have been working on finishing the spire, so the open work of the spire is continuing. That should be done, they said, the beginning of summer, which is technically this weekend. But in France, things don't always work exactly on time. Now the cleaner is coming back this direction. I just can't win with this guy today. But maybe they're just cleaning. Yeah, they're not cleaning the street. They're just cleaning up here. But it is very exciting. We have not seen this much of the street since before the fire. I got to Paris just 4 days after the fire. And when I came, they just had a temporary wall put in place here. You couldn't even get this close. You could only come up the side street. So it's really exciting that they have this already open. A couple of weeks ago, I was around on the islands with one of my favorite families, and I loved to show the big signs they had on the side because it would show you some of the before and after, but they were gone. And so I thought, oh, I was sad they were gone, but well, maybe that means they're going to be coming, the wall will come down. And sure enough, they did do just that. So now the guy is right in front of the door. So we'll walk down here instead, and we'll take a look at the spire, which I was going to do afterwards, but we'll do that before, and maybe we can get a good little glimpse. So there's still about 2 more years of work to go, just on the outside. The back part here of the cathedral this was all part of the project that was going to happen before the fire. So they were going to restore the spire, and they were also going to do a lot of work on the back. So you can see out back here on the outside, none of it's been cleaned. The windows are still pretty dirty, and they had to do work on the buttresses. So the braces are still under the buttresses on the whole back side, and there's still quite a bit of scaffolding up there. So they have a lot of work to do back here, and then of course to finish open work of the spire. But we'll go down a little bit to see. But back here, this is still the work headquarters of the architects and everybody. And back in here, look, the door is open a little bit. Back in here right now are the statues, which you can't see, the 16 statues that will return up onto the roof. Those have been back here now for about a month, And those two will go up as soon as there's the workers. I'll go over and hug and kiss them. Those should also come up as soon as the spire is done. The bases that were there that are needed for the actual statues are already in place. And so they're just here in the corner. So we're looking diagonally up at the spire. So they will be in each of the kind of crevices of the roof between where the transept and the nave meet. And they will each go there. And so they're back here. They were restored. They were probably the first thing restored from the church because they were taken down 4 days before the fire. So those have been restored and they were put on display at the Architecture Museum the last 5 years. So it was amazing. I hope everybody had a chance to go see those. If you did not, I did a whole video about them. But they're back here, safe and sound, and they will return up there to the spire. So you can see it, zoom in. So what they're doing now is covering all of the open work, which they couldn't do until the cathedral roof was finished. So it was getting quieter. Once the roof was finished, then they could go up and put the scaffolding up to finish the open work. And it's just a lot of you could tell right there where it's, the openings closest to the level of the scaffolding. And they're bigger as you go down. So there's just a lot of intricate, curves and bends in there. And all of the pieces for the lead were created off-site, shaped, placed on the existing spire before it was ever shipped up to Paris. So they've been done for quite some time. And so all they have to do is put them in place, but because there is so many pieces, and then you have to put like what's called the English paper underneath, which actually makes it completely waterproof, and then put everything in place, and then add all the little decorative elements like the hooks that you see going up here. All of that is done by hand, so it's taking a bit of time. And there's, look at our there's my precious little rooster. I love him. Done by Philippe Villeneuve, head architect, love of my life, I call him. My favorite. You can just see there's over 200 of those little flower hooks there. But one of the ones on the very top, very last little level there, facing the Seine side, looking down is actually the face of Philippe Villeneuve. They put that into his face, and what's really fun is that of the 16 statues that go onto the roof, one of them that is St. Thomas, because they are the 12 apostles and the symbols of the 4 evangelists. The St. Thomas one, who's also the patron saint of architects, has the face of Viollet-le-Duc, who is the architect that did the massive restoration, the biggest restoration in history of the 19th century. His face is on that, and he's turned to looking up at the spire, and all the other figures look down towards the street in the Seine, and now Philippe Villeneuve looks down on him. So it was really the work, all the work that they did here was basically to bring back the project that was Viollet-le-Duc's. So this one, I'm getting all confused. Viollet-le-Duc did a massive restoration where, he changed so much, 80% of the church on the inside. Pretty much the only thing he didn't touch was the choir. And then Philippe basically just, in his massive team of people, they just brought all that back. So whatever they did. So it was just returning it to that when the restoration of Viollet-le-Duc was actually transforming and changing of the cathedral. But Philippe's was just returning it to that vision that was Viollet-le-Duc, which I just love. But you can see how dark it is back here. It's funny, as soon as the trees came back, I love the winter here because you can see so much more of the architecture of things, and the trees come back, which is always beautiful, but it hides so much, which is kind of sad. But she's looking pretty good. I'm gonna walk back down there because it does sound like that is getting a little bit quieter, so I don't know what's happening, but let's go and check it out. See a little view of the empty streets. All of the guys are coming to work back into the back there, all the workers. Maybe it's my ears just playing tricks on me, but it does sound, but it is basically in front of the door. But the sun comes up so early here, it's easy to get down here. after I show you the door, we'll go to the front and to the side, and I'll tell you a little bit more about the massive other project that will be starting here just at the end of the summer. Let's see if he's gonna move. Okay, the good thing about him starting on the street is he's going all the way down, but he's going really fast, so maybe it's done. Okay, so back to the store. So this whole part of the wall was constructed and finished in 1252. This part of the church that you see from the outside was added after they had already started building. They had built the church, they'd already created a wall, and then the wealthy people and the families and the guilds all decided, hey, you guys should add some chapels and we'll pay for it. And so it also was a way to get more light into the church because the church was very dark. So they stopped the construction on the walls and then started to tear down the inside wall and then build the chapels and here in the transept. So this was all done and finished in 1252 by the architect Pierre Duchel. He is the first architect that we know of. So that's the 13th century. We don't know who the first architects were because back then it was more about the names of the donors than it was about the artisans. And now that cleaning thing is finished. So all of this part of the church is newer than, say, the center part of the church. And so they took apart the whole wall and then rebuilt all of this and then added the amazing rose windows. So the rose window up here, which of course on the inside is much more striking, but it's still beautiful on the outside. And at the outside, what's great is you can really see the bones of it. Then on the inside, you mostly see the glass, and so you can really see the work and how many windows are in there. And then on the lower side, in there, those are different prophets. So definitely go inside the church and check it out. But here, again, on the door, we have in the tympan, which is the top part of it, and I think I said that wrong, but you have, this was all done in that 1252. So the bottom side is the life of the Virgin and the early life of Christ. So on the left there you have the Nativity, and you can see just above her is a small bird of the Holy Spirit. Next is the presentation of the temple. Then the next one, you have the Massacre of the Innocents, and then on the far right is the flight to Egypt. So it's when Joseph, it takes Mary and the baby to Egypt to try to get away from Herod trying to kill all of the children under 2 because he'd heard about this new king. And so at the top, the middle part and the top part is dedicated to the story of a saint that's not a lot of people would really know. In truth, I didn't know a lot about him. Theophilus, and he was in the mid 6th century. And he was going to be the bishop of a town, and the town decided, the Catholic Church decided to pick somebody else. So he was quite upset about that, and there was all this slander going around and stories about why he wasn't chosen. He was very upset. So he, a bad guy came and told him, oh, I could take you to see somebody. There's some of the workers coming. He said, I could take you to see somebody who could help you with this. Well, somebody was Satan, and so he took him to Satan, and you see that there in the we're talking about the middle one now on the left. Always read these left to right. And he takes them to the devil, and he's telling the devil a story, and the devil says, okay, I can fix this for you, but you're going to have to basically denounce the Virgin and Christ and write it in a parchment and sign it. And so he did that. And then the next one is you see him with the bishop, because he instantly pretty much regretted this decision. The next day he goes to the bishop, and the bishop actually also tells him that he regrets what he did, and that he wants to fix it. But you see, down to Theo's side, the devil, a little tiny figure of the devil. So Theo now, the third scene is Theo goes to the church and he prays to the Virgin Mary. Well, later, and he says that he's going to do fasting for 40 days, and he won't eat, and he just will pray, and he was just heartbroken, and he has a dream one night, and the Virgin comes to him in this dream and says that she will talk to her son and have this fixed. So the one on the right, it depicts Theo there and the Virgin holding a weapon, a sword, and then the devil there on his knees. And so she was able, this is a miracle that's attributed to Mary, that she was able, excuse me, to actually retract the whole order. And he woke up in the morning with the actual parchment on his chest, and the bishop accepted him back into the church. And at the very top, you have the bishop there in the center, and he's holding in his hand the actual document and medal. And then you have Theo sitting next to him, and the bishop is telling the story of what exactly happened. So it's a story you don't often see. You can see it in a few of the big cathedrals in France, like in Troyes and Le Mans, but you don't see it a lot here in the Paris church. But these sculptures all at one time were painted, and I don't know if I'll be able to zoom in there. I'll come over to the edge. But if you count up on the inner, there's the three sections on the outside of all of the little sculptures, and those on the outside, it's the different prophets. The inner one, you have different virgins of the church, and then on the inside you have some more prophets. But if you go from the one here on the right and you count up on both the first and second layer, the fourth one, I don't know if I could zoom in anymore, but you could actually see some of the polychrome color still on these, because at one point these were all painted. So it's really exciting to get to see that. In the center of the door, you have a statue of the Virgin, and she used to be holding, you can kind of see the bottom of the body of what was once Christ. This dates back to the 13th century as well, and and on the side, you can kind of see just to the bottom of each of those three layers. There used to be statues there. Those were destroyed during the Revolution. A massive group of morning runners coming through here, but you have the Virgin there, and she did survive. She still was here after 1830. It was actually a revolution that they started to destroy more of these things on the church. The church's gone through a lot, not just the big revolution that most people know about, but multiple times it was sacked, and the Archbishop Palace was destroyed, the treasury was looted, and things, there's amazing things that we will never see because they were stolen or melted down or tossed into the Seine. But the center is where we see our Virgin, Our Lady. We used to be holding the baby Jesus, but she is said to be the face of Marguerite de Provence, which is the wife of Saint Louis, Louis IX. But she is really beautiful, and you can see the gorgeous red door and the scroll work. It's so exciting to see it once more. But it's so great. It's been, the last 6 months, 7 months now that it's been open. It's been so great to be able to be back in here, but it's also the work has slowed down a little. It doesn't have the same intensity because they don't have the timeline that they did before, and now they're doing the outside. But they don't. It's very slow for changes or even information about the changes. I actually still have not seen anything online about how this is visible yet, so that's you'll get a little sneaky peeky here, but it is really great. But let me just, because it is so quiet now, let me just zoom in, and so you could just see, because this camera on this phone is so amazing, but just let me zoom in so you could just take in all of these little details. Up there at the top, we have Saint Denis. And Saint Denis is facing north because he's looking towards his Basilique of Saint Denis. And he was mostly all recreated. The stained glass windows, especially in the Gothic church, are so beautiful, and it's always just interesting how You know, you can't actually make out the lines, but it's just the difference of that light, and it's all about the divine light. So Gothic cathedral, as you may know if you've watched me before, a Gothic cathedral is all about light. So it's about giving the appearance of lightness. So it's why we have the flying buttresses and kind of, you know, and the stained glass windows, but it's also about getting light into the church, the divine light. And so, you know, when you're standing out here, because the light from the outside is going into the church, even if we're not facing the sun on the north side, and just lights up those windows beautifully. But I'm going to go up to the front, and it's still, actually the cathedral will open shortly, because it is a weekday. And let me go up to the front and tell you a little bit about the upcoming. Just getting ready to open. We'll open in about 10 minutes or so. This is the line for Mass here. Really, there's only a line for Mass when it's close to the time for Mass. And then the line to go in for a visit is over here. In the morning, they'll let the line for Mass go in first. Once that is in, they'll let the visitors in. But you have to snake through all of this. If you come in the morning before, say, 9:30, not on a weekend, try to avoid a weekend if possible, especially Sunday. But if you come in during the week, if you get here before 9:30, you move very quickly inside. It is the summertime, so it definitely is getting much, much busier. But if you're not going to go to Mass, don't use the Mass line. I think that's just bad. That's bad karma coming for you. But here you can see the front of the facade, and she looks amazing. I will do a whole thing, and I'll do it this summer while we have these early mornings, so I could come over here before people are awake and go through each of the doors. I did this long ago after the fire, when we could kind of see the doors, but now it's so exciting, so you can see the whole door, and the doors are fantastic. I love all the stuff, everything on the door and the facade. And we'll talk about the rose window, the western rose window, which sadly you can't see very well, but that one is the one that's actually filled with the coolest of images. But out here in front of the cathedral, come September, if you're going to come here in the fall, this is also France, so remember, things change, but they've announced it by September, after the summer, they're going to tear all of this apart. So there's going to be a massive amount of work that's going to last at least 2 years. And they are going to completely rip all this up. They're going to turn it into kind of a great big park. There's going to be a lot of trees. There's going to be a whole visitor center here underneath us that's going to have, you know, restrooms, and I'm sure restaurants and shops and everything. It would be a really great idea if Notre Dame did a little gift shop on the outside of the church, because the one on the inside just gets bombarded as soon as it opens at 9:30, and you could wait there for 45 minutes in line. So it'd be really a great idea if they opened something outside of the church as well. And so that's going to be a huge thing. The bleachers, I'm assuming, will be gone at that time. They're going to take those down. It's been nice, really great to have them here during the construction, so we could have, you know, hop up there and we could get a little view over the wall that was here. So remember that. Feels like yesterday though. And of course out here we have our handsome Charlemagne. But here is, I think I showed you this all on one video, but this is kind of the project. So you can see this is kind of a big area underneath. Doesn't look too exciting though, does it? But here we'll have, you can see the steps, where the steps are going to go down. And then all of this on the side, this is all going to be kind of updated and cleaned up from what we have here. You can see Charlemagne right here. And so these are going to be new steps. And so the steps that are here will be gone. And then they're going to add more trees all the way and kind of hook up everything into the back. So it will be one humongous park, and get rid of the street in the back. So they all are also going to change. They had replaced all the parvis in front of the church, so you can see kind of the two different colors. What I'm really hoping though is that they retain the names. And so out here on where you see these two lines here, there are names in the actual stones, and those are names of the old chapels that used to be here. So I hope they retain those. I'm gonna go this morning and take a bunch of pictures of them and document in the order that they are, just in case they disappear. But as you can see, it's gonna be 160 new trees planted. Doesn't actually look all that different in that photo, but oh, here's something. I always love to see the crane pulling things up. But we could get a good look at the spire from this side, and that'll be your little update. It's been very busy with clients, so I wasn't able to do this for Sunday. So it's a little, you know, a little Monday special treat. Look at how beautiful this morning is. And it's not hot. It's going to get hot this week, very hot. But here's a good little view. You can see the clock, still not at the right time. But we can see a little more backlit on this side, but you can see a little bit of the spire. They're still working on the tower, so that was supposed to be open by summer. I'm gonna guess it's gonna be maybe a little into the middle of summer, but we're still working on the tower. So some massive scaffolding set up on the top. We're not really sure what that is, but I'll keep an eye on it. But she really is looking pretty good. Can't wait for all of this stuff to come down. That's probably going to be a good 3 years before the rest of this is disappeared. If you have watched my videos for a long time, I have talked about this statue here on the side, and I have so many books, so many books about Notre Dame, and I've never found anything to talk about this statue here, and it was always driving me crazy because I can't get an answer on something. It makes me insane. But I figured it out. It's Saint Marcel. Of course, it's Saint Marcel. Saint Marcel was the Bishop of Paris. He is the one that killed the dragon that was on the left bank, and you could tell it's Saint Marcel because he's standing on a dragon and he's facing the left bank. I love it. But it's so exciting to be able just to walk down here and pop inside. And there are a few new things added into the cathedral lately. There's a new painting that is of one of the paintings from the life of the Virgin that was not here before the fire. It actually has been in the Louvre for quite some time, for well over 100 years, and was restored and actually placed back into the church, and that is of the Annunciation. And then there is also a beautiful carved wood cabinet that is on the south transept that's actually been added as well. So I'll pop in there and get some pictures of it. But I'll walk over here and actually show you those little markers. We'll document them just in case they disappear. But underneath here is the crypt. That will remain. It's a little bit different of a crypt than you would think of, excuse me, a crypt in a church where people are buried. This is right underneath our feet. And in the 70s, they were going to create a parking garage down here and dug down here and found all sorts of remains of the former chapels that were here on the island, and then they knew they had to keep them. So that happens a lot. That's actually happening at another place that I love dearly right now that I can't really divulge any of the secrets about yet, but I will. So here you can see these two lines. So this is where the chapels were, and I'll do some more research on this and see if I could even get some dates. But the cathedral started in, I'll get on the other side so you don't see the shadow. The cathedral started in 1160. St. Catherine. This poor one is all banged up. Doesn't know what it wants to do here. I'm holding it sideways. That's Saint Yves Camdebord. Not really, but it should be. So you have a few of them here. another St. Catherine. And then you could tell how the markers go around here. So it's following a shape of former chapels. And then there are, some more names here. Really doesn't like to be held at this angle. And then of course we have my favorite Pont Zero, and that is down closer to the little fence down there, which you actually is covered up. So I'm hoping that's just going to be covered until they finish all of this. So again, all of this will be torn up. They'll have new pavers, everything, put in new stones. It'll be beautiful when it's done. It's going to be a mess, but you know, we live through the mess of the. So now they're letting them in. It's supposed to open 7:45 is the time they say, but usually it's more like 7:52-ish. But here you can see a little bit more of the work. They had to do more work in the towers than they thought they would have to do, especially the North Tower. The North Tower had some damage from the heat and onto the belfry, so they had to actually lift it up and replace some of the boards. And on the right, that might actually be what they're also doing. And the right is where the big one is, Emmanuel, and also Marie. Emmanuel is the oldest bell in the church, going back to Louis XIV. And the other ones are all from 2013, but from the bronze of the other. They take the bronze from the old ones, melt them down, and re-pour them, recast them into new. So it's the same bronze most of the time. But there you have it. There's a quick little update, and hopefully at the beginning you could hear me shouting over the over everything. And this weekend is another super busy weekend, but I have more coming. If you did not see the first video I did of the Louvre Couture exhibit, do check it out. I just cover the first part that's tied to the Byzantine period and the Middle Ages. And there's some amazing things in the Louvre that a lot of people just miss, and even a lot of things that are tied to the cathedrals. So definitely do check that out, and make sure you listen to the podcast, and follow me here, and get my newsletter. And if you come to Paris, look me up for a tour or to help plan your trip, and I will see you shortly.